gender perspective and the inclusive science. And that's all. So Maria, please, you can start.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for attending. This is unusual for me to start speaking about something that is not earthquake geology or geomorphology, but it was challenging. But at the same time, I was very motivated because I've been learning, I've been taking courses and applying or trying to apply the gender perspective in the last years. So I thought that I had a vision and something to contribute. Of course, many of you might also have some education on this or just experience, because life is is full of opportunities to apply this. Let's try. So if I share the screen, I'm going to share a presentation. This is not working. Okay. You know what happened? That I switched the. No, I have to go here. Share screen.
The green arrow. You have to click on the green arrow.
Yeah, the problem was about was the. You see the screen?
Yes.
Presentation.
Perfect.
Yes, okay now.
So let's see. Oh, it's a problem. You know what happened is that I changed the place. That was a bad idea. I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna work just with one screen because. Are you seeing my presentation? No, not now. Okay.
Not now.
Yes. I just connected. I'm gonna use only one screen because otherwise. Okay. Now it's okay.
Yes.
Yes. So let's start. Okay. So this is more or less the content of this talk. I'm gonna try to go a little through these aspects, with a special focus in the biases, in the acknowledging our biases. Also, some basic concepts about how to integrate this gender justice or diversity in science, and how to start changing. So I will also try to give some examples of concrete things we can do, not just abstract and philosophical dissertations. Okay, so as you, of course, you all know these goals of sustainable development that are in the focus of every project and every step we are doing in science in Europe and in development industry and education in many fields. And gender equality is among these goals, is the fifth goal. And I was surprised when I was reading that gender equality is not only a fundamental human right, but necessary foundation for a peaceful, prosperous. That's important because they want to convince us that economically it's interesting to integrate the gender perspective because the results are better in general in economic terms also, but also for sustainability, etc. But that they say that the world is not on track to achieve gender equality by 2030. They already said that when you go into the European Union portal. So they say that at current rate, it will take, and in our case, we can even say we can focus on this aspect of the equal representation in leadership in the workplace, for instance. It took 140 years. So I was surprised. Let's see what it is behind this statement. Okay, another thing. We are here also because when you try to do science in Europe and to get support for any institution, not only European Union, but nowadays any national research funding, they require you to explain how are you going to incorporate this gender perspective in your study, in your research. You can go here to this portal and find many sections, questions, guides to follow and incorporate. Most of them are quite abstract, I have to say, but there is a lot of information. And also, when you start trying to write a proposal, the one that of you that already tried to do it. Oh, this is not working. So you're gonna find many questions that are a little well bother not sometimes hard to address. Many questions in the proposals. As the impact, they ask you about the impact of that you consider it's gonna have in the population, in society. How are you going to incorporate the sex gender perspective in reporting, in your methodology? And for us as earth scientists, sometimes it's hard to know how we are going to address all these issues that seem or are more easily to relate with, for instance, health science, social sciences, but not earthquakes, for instance. Okay, so I will try to go ahead and try to put some light in this. So let's see the definition. We can find definitions for gender perspectives. I don't know if you already knew about this, but this is the general definition, taking into account gender-based differences when looking at any social phenomenon, policy, or process. So in our case, science could be a process, but also part of policies. And we can find many other descriptions and extended descriptions that say that gender perspective focuses on the differences in status and power. Okay, so that's a key point. And also, in the third paragraph, they say taking a gender perspective is a strategy for making women's as well as men concerns and experiences an integral dimension of the design, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation. All this is important in the description. But I wanted to go through this to show you that, for instance, this is not integrating a gender perspective in a talk. So I reached to this slide without taking gender perspective. I'm gonna be a little practical. Why I am not including gender perspective in the talk? Well, I'm going to show you some examples. Gender perspective claims for a change to make every step more human. Do you think this is a human way to explain gender perspective? Giving one definition, for instance. I mean, questioning traditional procedures and taking the caring as a priority, that is including gender perspective. For instance, additionally, we used to give fixed and absolute definitions. That is like the way we always did, no? And proceed with knowledge or learning or whatever. The opposite of this will be extending our views to be more inclusive. So there are different ways to understand gender perspective. For instance, for me, this one, that it's the claim to change science more human, taking care of people, taking care of the way we know we work together, we do things. This is including gender perspective, because caring is something very associated with women, with the culture of women, taking care of people and all the details. Another thing, for instance, starting a lesson, an activity without asking the participants how they are. Well, we only have 1 hour and now a little less. But for instance, if we start working as a team, or going to do a field work, or just meeting in the morning at the office, maybe one priority is to ask each other how we are, but really concerned about this. So this would be opposite to the traditional way of not going and asking everyone how are you feeling. So let's start in how is my audience feeling? How are you feeling today? If you feel like helping me, you can go with because I cannot use the pause in this Zoom version. So if you want to contribute, telling me how are you feeling today, you can go to the QR. It's anonymous, or you can play you are one of these options. And now the problem is that I have to stop sharing. Maybe you can also use the chat. Let's see. And if you are feeling like in the mood of asking, of answering. Okay, that's good. So we have 3 persons feeling as C and 2 persons feeling as B. Let's go back to the presentation. Well, 5 participants so far. It's okay. It's just an exercise to see that most of people feel in between B and C. But that's good that I ask you how you are, and maybe that has an impact in the way we work, in the research, in the results. But do you think we can change something in this graph to do it more inclusive? It's a shame that I cannot see the chat. Mm, It was I cannot see the chat, but I don't know if there is a way to. Now it's using it anyway. Do you have some idea to improve that slide?
Well, I mean, it's very obvious, but all of these people in there were men. So I suppose that is what you're getting at.
You still see my screen? Oh, no. Okay, so that was very obvious for you. That's great, Alexander. But it's amazing that not for everyone is obvious that. And I'm gonna give you some sad examples, very recent examples. I'm gonna start now that I'm not sharing the screen. Sharing the screen, okay. If I share the screen. I prefer, since I cannot read the chat, it's for me better if you just talk, okay? I'm really grateful if you do it. So let's see, for instance, I had here, can you see my web that I'm showing? Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
So this is the Mediterranean Geoscience Union meeting that was held in November in Barcelona. And I was really shocked to see, okay, the advisors of the meeting, the MedGU meeting, were all men. Okay, I'm quite used to this for people. But we go into the sessions, social sessions, for instance. I was thinking, okay, let's submit some work to some of these sessions. So I was going to track the 14th session. Okay, they are all men. So I know some of them. Okay, good. Recent earthquakes in the Mediterranean region. Okay, let's check it. All conveners are men also. Oh, so let's keep going. Special session on earthquake source and ground motion modeling for seismic hazard and risk assessment. That's interesting. It relates a lot with threat project. Okay, for guys. I cannot believe it. So at the end, only the 18th session in seismic noise-based studies had women as conveners, 3 women and 2 invited speakers, 1 woman and 1 guy. The last session on landslide also had a woman, Nika Brown. I know her. She's great. She was very lucky to be called for a convener. So something that is very obvious to Alexander and probably to all of you is not so obvious for a lot of colleagues that are around us. So let's go back to the presentation. And okay, so this is called androcentrism. I don't know if it's a technical word, but I think many of you know this term that means that the things that we do without realizing, without being conscient very often, but are male-centered, and that impact everything, many things. Okay, so in fact, this is a result of the patriarchy, let's say the culture we've been growing on or in, whatever. And this was one example. There are plenty of examples in the culture around us since we are very little and also when we are grown up. But we are lucky that this is changing. This is changing, and now women are also present in the cartoons, in the promotional videos when they want to promote a career. So this is changing. This is not critical for me, but still we have to keep an eye on this all the time. Okay. So do you think this would be better? Do you have some opinion about this other way to checking? How are you? You can directly talk because I cannot read the chat. Sorry. No opinions? I'm not. I'm not going to keep going the talk if you don't participate. Let's see. This is a
Well, it's more
problem that
inclusive than the other one you showed, for sure.
Moritz, do you think it's better, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But do you think it's the solution? Okay, A has diversity, but
Right.
it is not the solution because I'm going to show you what happened just 1 month ago, what happened in my faculty. Okay, we had a meeting between students and people from enterprises to show people the opportunities to find a job when they finish. And the poster on the left is the original poster that was designed. But when they first delivered this poster, people in the Equal Gender Commission, we said, okay, people, you cannot go and publish a poster like this where we find a man talking to a guy male. This is not representative of what we are. And then they decide, okay, to correct it, and they publish, and that is the final version, a poster only with women. So, I mean, women, this is not the solution. We are not claiming for this. We are claiming for taking care of diversity. So at the end, what I want to say is that this type of icons or imagery or whatever is more inclusive. We don't have to do persons everywhere. We can include diversity of origins, of skin color, or if you have some other kind of abilities or whatever in our materials, outreach materials, etc. So this being said, we have to include more terms when we do things, not only avoiding androcentrism, but also ableism, racism, sexism, and to counterpart, the words that we have to include or the strategies are inclusive view, intersectional approach. So for me, it doesn't have any value to include women if we don't include other minorities or other ways to be in the life. So that's important, and it's the only way. It loses value if we only focus on men and women. So I like this word, DEI. It's the acronym for diversity, equity, and inclusion. That is a little more open and it reflects better the gender perspective so the gender perspective way of doing things. So can we add these aspects into science? Something is important is that we have to really acknowledge how conditioned is our perception. Our perception in general, it's something very hard to, even to when we wear glasses, let's say, we wear glasses because we learn how to detect things. Okay, so I was trying to do an experiment, but I think it's going to be a little difficult. I'm gonna go through this. So you see here, no, it's I screwed it up. So the experiment, you can do it with your students or colleagues. Okay, I'm gonna explain it to it because it's hard for me with this screen to proceed. The experiment with my students, I use a word in Catalan, but in this case, I had to think about a word in English. So I take some students out of the classroom and I tell them, when you come back to the classroom, you're gonna see something in the board, like a number, like 100 or 50 or something like that, okay? Okay, so then I take the other group of students and I tell them, when you get into the classroom, you're gonna see in the board something like queen or queen or president or something like that. Okay, so when they come into the class, they write into the paper. The first group write 10,055, and the other group writes boss. Well, I do it with another word in Catalan, so I haven't tested with this. I wanted to test it today, but it's amazing with the prejudices you have when you go to see something, how you start detecting things in the way you've been programmed. Okay, I think that's something obvious, but it's a key point to understand our biases. Okay, so to include human diversity, we have to acknowledge that we are a little limited in the way we've been programmed through years and years. And inclusion of gender and sex within the research subject have to face that. Gender dimension, it's like an umbrella term that includes gender and sex. I think most of you know the difference. The cultural structure of gender and the biological. So we can use gender dimension to include these two terms. And the inclusion of gender in the research practices, we're gonna see some examples, have to know that we are conditioned by the way we are. So for me, it was a discovery, this film that maybe some of you have seen this film, Picture a Scientist? No. Octavi, you did? I think we were in the COVID times when we got it and we screened it at the university. And I have the right to use this film for educational purposes. So I'm gonna send you the link, and I really recommend you to watch this documentary. It's great. It's done with people from the MIT and other places in United States. It's very focused in the American culture, North American culture from United States, but it's really applies to science. So it has to do with us. In this documentary, one of the parts is about sexual harassment and explains how these situations are common in the academy, because academy is a dependent system. So all the time we have to interact among us, and in a way that training, lab work, field work, advisory, it can happen. So we have to take to take this and avoid the situations, the environments that can lead to sexual harassment. So we need to rethink the student-faculty dynamics. And I think we are doing it, but still we run into cases that are really incredible, but they still happen. It's nothing. It's not something from the past. You know, maybe you are familiar with this iceberg figure. These little things that is not just the assault or raping or things that are really like more impacting, but many little things are supporting this sexual harassment, and also in the way women are being questioned, and this is very common in meetings or in when you are leading with maybe majority of men or whatever, that you are not getting credit. And I can consider myself lucky, but I've seen this very often to colleagues. So questioning or inappropriate emails or ignore it in meetings, or as you saw, they ignore it in meetings. So not taking into account women to organize the special sessions of a meeting. This is another issue, the sexual harassment. But this movie shows two experiments that are critical to understand and believe how the gender biases is present in our lives. One experiment, it's quite famous, the John and Jennifer experiment. Have you heard about it? So it's an experiment. Maybe it's easy. Okay, I only see three people. I see Paola, Moritz, and Julian. I don't see the rest of you. So for me, it will be easier if I can see you, because at least you can. Okay, that's better. You can say yes, I seen it, or I can interact. Otherwise, I feel very alone. So that experiment, they do a curriculum exactly identical, but one of them is for John and the other for Jennifer, and they deliver it to thousands of institutions, faculties, and they ask experts or responsibles to evaluate the curriculum. And it's amazing, they show the results in the documentary, how there is a bias, and the women are evaluated in another way. So of course there are exceptions, there are people that is not so biased by the gender, but more of most of us we are. And the other one, I want to share with you a clip of the documentary. That is this one. For me, it's great to understand this experiment. Measuring the speed. Well, it's I'm gonna let the author, the creator of the experiment, Matrin Banerjee, to explain it. Okay, let's see if I can share the video. It's around 8 minutes. Okay, sir. This one. I hope the sound is good. Also, otherwise, you tell me, please.
Bias comes from normal cognitive processing mechanisms. And what that means is that really well-intentioned folks tend to display these sorts of very pervasive biases. It's not sort of an evil cartoon of someone who's delighting in thwarting the progress of smart women. It's all of us.
Consciously, I could say I have zero bias. To me, men and women who perform the same are equal. But I think we're in those very early moments in the science where we're able to actually get snapshots of what's inside our mind, of which we don't know. So what we're going to do today is you are participants in a couple of little exercises. I hope you find this as intriguing as I did when I first took this test. This test is called the IAT, or the Implicit Association Test. The IAT has a very simple idea that underlies it. The idea is that if two things have something in common, we'll be more easily able to put them together. And sometimes this just happens in our experience. Salt and pepper go together. They're opposites in one sense, but they go together because we combine them. The word king and queen go together. This is not a hard idea to imagine. And so we use this idea to argue that if two things have come to be associated over and over again in our experience, whether we know it or not, we will be faster to put them together. Nobody has any trouble understanding why this might be. It's a no-brainer, as a neuroscientist might say, okay? So imagine that in the test, you're asked to do something very simple. A word is gonna pop up in the middle of the screen. You're gonna see names of men and women. You're also gonna see words that are in two categories, family and career. And the career part that I've chosen, think scientific career. Words for career are words like scientist, laboratory, biologist. Words for home are going to be words like marriage, kitchen, children. All you have to do is put the two together, right? So if the name is a male name or the word is a career word, you will say left. And if it's a female name or a home word, you will say right. Okay, you got it. Keep that in your mind. Oh, and you have to go super fast to do this. By super fast, I mean like 700 milliseconds, meaning faster than a second to make each response. Okay, so simple, ready, go.
Left, left, right, right, left, 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 right, 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 left, left, right, left, right, left, 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 right, right.
Excellent. The trouble arises, this is what makes it a test, that we now flip these. And now we'll do the other version. If it's a female name or a career word, like scientist, so that you'll say left. If it's a male name or a house word, you will say right. Okay? Everybody ready to go? Go.
Left, left, right, left, 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 right, left, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, left, left, right, left, right, left, left.
Okay. So as a colleague of ours said, you don't need a computer to measure this bias. A sundial will do. And that's because the effect is palpable. Now, if you were one of the first people in the world to ever take this test and you made the test, your first reaction when you take this test should be, something screwed up with the test. At least that was my view. I thought I could do this. So I take the test, and it turns out I can't do it. When I say I can't do it, I mean that I can, but with a lot more time and more errors in what I'm doing. And the feeling you get as you take this test is one of utter despair. I ought to be able to associate female and male equally with science. I am, after all, a woman in science. This should not be so hard for me to do. To discover that I cannot do that, I think is profound.
Okay, so I invite you to do this test. You can do and try when you have the time to do this test. Is in the Harvard University. I will show you the link. I will provide you the link. Of course, it's interesting if you find it in your modern language. I think it makes a difference to do it in your modern language. But something profound. So it's really something we have to acknowledge. This one, you can. I will share with you the presentation later. You will find it there, the implicit test. And you can do it not only for gender, but also for many other aspects. So you can try how biased you are. Of course, it's an experiment. This is most people fails in or fit into this strong or moderate or slight automatic association of male and career with and family with female. Okay, so when we see these graphs, you are seeing my screen. Oh, no. Oh, okay. Okay. So you have to tell me. I'm really clumsy sometimes. Okay, so share screen. This one. Sorry. So I was only saying you have this implicit test online, and you can try it. The test is also for different aspects that you can play with. And these are the results. So most of us fit in this automatic association in a strong way, moderate or slight way, but associating female with home, this is something cultural. Okay, so when we see these graphs that tell us, okay, the number of women in STEM, STEM disciplines, I think science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So in the STEM disciplines, we've been growing. So the percentage of women is been growing, but it's amazing that since the late 90s, the number is stuck. So we don't get this 50% that should be the representation of society. We are stuck there. Also, it's true that at least in the bachelor degree level, in many of these careers, not in geology maybe, but in biology or marine science, for instance, women are 60% or more. But when you go to higher positions, let's say in the career, in the scientific career, we are less and less, and not to talk about the high, like responsible positions, being IP or being dean of our department. So we are underrepresented. And also this inclusive view or intersectional view, not just being looking at women, for instance, in this documentary, they pay attention to Black women, or in different cultures or countries, we'll have to take into account this diversity. If it's or it is not reflected in the academy, of course it is not. And why? No, the lack of opportunities. If it's cultural, if it has to do with economics or social status or whatever. Okay. Other tips I want to share with you are these terms. I think I don't have that much time. Oh, I don't have my. You can, Paula. You can tell me when we are next, like 5 minutes for 5.
Okay.
5 minutes. Okay.
Okay.
So thank you, because I don't see the clock. Are you familiar with these terms? Linking pipe? Not that much. So these are really, really useful and great terms because it's very visual. You imagine a pipe that is losing water. So that's the pipe of the scientific career, losing women. So for instance, many women doctorate, but then not that many go for a postdoc, not that many become, okay, so that's the idea of the linking pipe. We could spend hours and hours talking about the reasons of these laws, but I don't have that time. But maybe at some point when we meet, for instance, here in Barcelona in the workshop or in another opportunity, we can talk about these reasons, or you can talk about you. The glass ceiling, maybe it's more familiar. The glass ceiling. That it's something very profound as this and very attached to our society, that women cannot access to this charge as president, or well, this is changing, but still we are really, really underrepresented. The imposter syndrome. This is something that may occur to many people, no matter the gender, but it is very common in women in science, that they feel that they are not deserving the position, or they are not enough good as their colleagues. And the Matilda effect is this one that we have here, that even Marie Curie, you know that Marie Curie, she was not credited for the work she did, and she was maybe probably dead. But it's the effect of not acknowledging the work of a colleague. Maybe you I don't know if you felt like this, the women in the room, but well, hopefully it's not so common now. But I've seen that in colleagues that did the PhD with me. And they were like finding things, proposing things, and these ideas were stolen, totally stolen by some colleagues. So that's the Matilda effect. Okay, so if you want to understand better, or at some point you want to be better documented by countries, there are a lot of references and materials in the web or everywhere. And the European Union every 4 years or so published this report with statistics. Statistics can be boring, but also they say a lot of things. And they quantify how the countries are improving. Of course, it's difficult to reflect, but these are some of the aspects that they consider. This segregation in the pipeline, you see, this is one of the factors in the formula. In how present they are women in research sectors, career progression, decision making, well, in different aspects. And there are also in this report ideas or examples of how countries are helping to improve these numbers with awards, resources, or other very different methods to support women in incorporating women to STEM subjects. Things, for instance, like this graph that is just telling us the proportion of self-employed women in science and engineering. It's amazing how low it is for some countries. So like the freelance or self-employed. Okay, so let's stop the numbers. Just telling you that important thing. Also talking about pipelines, liquid pipelines. Important thing would also be how we, this idea of the women leadership. I think we have to start changing our mind and not claiming that much for this leadership, this competition, and more claiming for a more, they say science is a sport team. Okay, in sports we have leaders, but maybe they they rotate. So another job culture, another way to work. Of course, you can have more responsibilities if you have more knowledge, but it's an invitation to question the hierarchy and these ways of compete, and also recognize so much the number of papers and not the quality of the papers and these things. So I leave you with these terms just to think about how they impact, how they are present in our daily life. And just to finish, focus a little on when we include the gender perspective in our research, there are two things, two important things, two spheres. The inner sphere here, the red one, has to do with the gender research in the content. So, for instance, in earthquake science, maybe it's a little difficult because earthquakes do not have sex, gender, but still there are parts of our research that are more related to the external cycle that have a lot to do with gender, as it is the way we work, the working conditions, the way we use the methods. For instance, I'm going to pass to the next slide. But this one better. So when we analyze, for instance, the data, maybe with the computer is more difficult, but I'm sure that there are experiments, things that we do that are better designed for the mind of a man, because or for instance an instrument, we go to the field and we use an instrument that maybe it was designed using tests only with men, so the performance of the instrument is great, but it was only tested with men. But if we find another instrument that is being like in the design of the instrument, they tested also with women. So that would be like including a gender perspective in the methodology. The way we explain things, the way we report things, and especially when we do outreach. When we organize a team, also to have the gender perspective into account. So there are many steps where we can do that. And it's difficult, but if we take our time, we finally can detect the meaning of this. well, yes, you find some ideas. Like, of course, in earth science, it's a little more difficult, but as I mentioned, there are ways to incorporate this. For instance, in education, it's easier to even know that there are some tests or ways to explain and evaluate students that perform better with men than to women. And of course, we are diverse, so there are some women that are more similar to men in their minds, and it's not. But in general, we just have to think if what we do can have this bias, okay?
Yeah, it's 5 minutes to
5 minutes?
5. Okay.
Great.
Yeah.
So I will try to give you some examples with references. So you can see, I think the best is to see examples of how to incorporate this. But in general, it's an invitation to wear the glasses of seeing this bias and trying to, each of us can try to see how you can apply this into your work. So to say goodbye, I will share the presentation and a selection of guides you can look to, especially when you have to do a report or for a proposal or whatever. And just to say goodbye, a video that, I don't know if you know a poem. You know the pink or blue poem? Have you ever? No? So I'm gonna share it with you just to say goodbye. I think it's great. And you will be identified with it. That is, I have it here in YouTube. Yeah. So there. This one.
Pink or blue? Pink or blue? Pink or blue? Go. Baby grows for blue with robots on. Baby grows for pink, no robots on. Baby grows for pink with flowers on. Baby grows for blue, no flowers on. Little pink picks a daisy chain. Great. Little blue picks a daisy chain. Gay. Little blue climbs a tree. Strong boy. Little pink climbs a tree. Tomboy. Pink falls down. Pink is given more hugs. Pink tears are loud. Blue tears must man up. Grow some bollocks, toughen up. Don't be such a girl, blue. Now blue hair is cut short. Pink hair is let long. Pink is given toy dolls. Blue is given toy guns. Pink is told to be cute. Blue is told to be bigger. Pink shoes, no grip. Blue shoes, no glitter. Now blue legs start growing hair and pink legs start growing hair. Blue is told it's manly, pink is told to shave theirs. Blue is shown as blood, in action, films, fights, pride. Pink starts bleeding every month, told blood, shh, shame, hide. Pink discovers lust, wrong. Blue discovers lust, nice. Now blue is called a player, but pink is called a sket. Pink is told they glow, but blue is told they sweat. Blue is told they wank, pink is told they sin. Or blue is called a pussy, pink is called a bitch. Now pink is told to be a lady, do not spit, swear, smell. Blue is told to be a man, do not cry or ask for help. Blue is told to man up, pink is told to make up. Blue is told to stay strong, pink is told to stay young. Blue is told to get rich, pink is told to want kids. Blue is told they mansplain, pink is told they gossip. Blue is told they're bosses, pink is told they're bossy. Blue is given breakdowns, pink is given Botox. Cunnilingus is censored more than rape scenes or blowjobs. Blue is told, this makes a man. Pink is told, this makes a girl. Babies born in naked flesh, welcome to the world.
Okay. Maybe you want to share some, I think. Ay, oy, 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 oy. Sorry. Oh, okay. So I have to say that it's good that I see you, Rachel, because for me it is I was impressed that the women in the team was with the we were not presence, the image. It was like I cannot believe that the three women are with the video off. But I want to think that it's not a gender issue, but still in everything we do, there are little things, details that mark the difference, make the difference. And if we are more conscious of this situation, I think we can start changing. So it's nothing that we're gonna get very soon, very fast. But I think it made a difference that we started to talk about this in government policies, at the university, in the institutions. So I leave you just with this idea. And of course, if you want to share something or write me later or try to open a discussion, or if you find some material that can be helpful for all of us, you can share it. Okay.
Thanks a lot, Maria. But I don't know if someone want to say something.
Sure.
I think Moritz has something to say, Moritz.
Just expressing my gratitude in form of a symbol. Thanks, Maria. That was eye-opening. I sent my daughter away when I saw the video. I think it wasn't meant for her to see, so not yet anyway.
No, at some point, and of course you can find materials for every age.
Yeah.
And the age of your daughter probably is one of the most sensitive. I'm sure in the school they know, but it's incredible because I seen my son growing up. I realized how society so like has an impact in him because in the school still in the 21st century, it's so marked the difference.
Exactly. I can feel that too, that it's changing, like in the language, that they don't identify with. If you say doctor in German, there is a female word for doctor as well now. And if you don't use that to describe a female doctor, they will say, but look, that's a female doctor. So yeah, things are changing, and I really like those changes.
But very slowly, I think, in Spain at
Yeah.
least, very slowly.
Too much slow, I can say. We have the president here, the prime minister, that say that we have to use president as male name, not female. And she's the only female. She's one of the few female in Europe. It's amazing.
It's amazing. But also, you know, the University of Barcelona is supposed to be very modern, and we had the inclusive language some years ago, and now they turned back to the generic male language. So we in Spanish is very marked the difference between male and female in the language, and we had a lot of words that I'm used to this word now. At the beginning, maybe it takes a while, but in 2 or 3 months, it's hard to go back to the to the other terms.
Yeah.
And now they decide that we in the institutional documents we can use. We are not forced to use, but we can use generic male terms. So a lot of people that is very lazy just stay with the male term. It's it's very tiring.
Yeah, but the language is, I think it's important because it's the way to go over the biases that we have, as you showed us.
It's not the only thing, but it contributes.
No, it's not the only thing, but sometimes we say, come on, it's not important, the language. No, I think the language is in any case one of the points.
Okay. Anyone else want to share something?
I have a bit of a question maybe, because last year you shared the statistics for just the gender balance in trad, and it perfectly mirrors what we see here and what we see on a bigger level, that like it's changed now, but originally we were 64% female among us PhD students, and then you get to like the level of the beneficiaries and we're 35%. And especially stark, I found, was like the industry partners is 12% women. It's 2, apparently, according to the statistic you shared. So my question is a bit like, obviously, even when being aware of these issues, that's not enough. Like awareness is fine and good, but awareness doesn't by itself change things. And then you're faced with the problem, well, we want partners. These partners do the work we need for our project. These partners are predominantly male. So you reproduce this issue, that this hierarchy, that the more senior positions are more male, is in a way just reproduced. And there's not really anything to change that. So my question is, how does that actually change? Like, what actually is the way to change that doesn't take another 50 years, another 100 years to reach the balance?
So I think there are many ways to promote the incorporation. So, but it has to be with politics, like giving even like more money to projects that, for instance, to us it's a problem to get a project. If you are really under the percentages, maybe you don't get the project for that reason. Of course, it's difficult to go and increase the percentage. If you just reflect society, you're gonna maintain the proportion. You have to do this discrimination and trying to have more women. This is exhausting for us. For instance, you know, as a teacher, I have to be in many PhD defense juries because they want to have a balanced jury, and it means more work for women also because we are not so many. But at the end, I'm committed with I want women in the PhD defense discussions. So at the end, but of course, sometimes what it's really sad is when you see things like the MedDU meeting, so that they didn't care at all. And that happens so often when they organize a roundtable with experts. I'm not saying 50% of women, but at least some women, please, because it's the way that we have references. and that you feel more comfortable and you fight against the imposter syndrome. I mean, you start feeling that you are not like an outsider, you know. But of course, I think it has to be forced with money, with with like, how you say, when you compensate projects that really take that into value.
Yeah, in general, just affirmative action. But of course, there the problem is again that if we have in the higher positions more men, then it's less likely these things are actually done. And so, like, I wonder from the perspective of someone who doesn't have any authority, any power, doesn't decide things, like, sure, cultural changes, but is there anything beyond that?
But you can do it in every single aspect, or many. For instance, when I go to teach, and I found my classes, we have the tables are fixed. Okay, the tables are fixed, and we have huge classes with many tables. It's like banks. I don't know. So this way of teaching, where I am here and I have 60 students in rows, that's not helping girls' participation. At the end, I try to ask girls to participate, but maybe we have to change our classrooms to do more like teamwork. Then if you take the students, let's go to another classroom. We only have one classroom at my faculty where you can sit, the students can sit in teams to discuss. When we go to those classrooms, that classroom is only one, you see how the girls participate more. So that's something about changing the methods. Because maybe this way of doing the things in a hierarchy, I don't know. It's like, I'm the professor, you are the students, you cannot move. This is all have to do with not putting things easy. And like that, there are many examples. So maybe we can apply that to our meetings. When we meet, when we have workshops, we can try to think in other ways to, because I don't know if you realize it, but in general, in our meetings, for instance, the other day in the online meeting, in general, well, it was not really a lot of participation of the advisors, but I have the feeling that there was more participation of men in general. Also because you are more the men are more represented. But it's something to do with the culture and to be self-confident and many things. Okay, so thanks so much.
Thank you, Maria.
Thank you, Maria.
I hope we keep the the discussion at some point.
And share the presentation, please.
Sure. Okay. Have a good afternoon. Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao, ciao.